Over the past month here on this channel, we've gone over almost every position of need for the Green Bay Packers for the upcoming draft and the potential prospects that will be available for the Packers and what thresholds match what the Packers typically draft under Brian Gutekunst. We've gone over wide receiver, edge, cornerback, and interior defensive line. And in terms of positions of need, I really only see two other positions left. So today we're going to be looking at the top 40 prospects at offensive tackle in the upcoming 2025 NFL draft, tying them to the Packers thresholds, what they typically like at tackle through the draft, and see which players fit. The draft is now officially 1 week away. I'm beyond excited. I'm actually heading to Green Bay to be there for the draft. So if you guys want behind the scenes looks at the first ever draft in Green Bay, I'd highly suggest going down and clicking that subscribe button. Very, very excited to come back to Green Bay. It's going to be a blast. And I also hope to see some of you guys out there. Don't be afraid to come up and say hi if you do see me. Let's dive down into the top 40 offensive tackles in the upcoming NFL draft and whether or not the Green Bay Packers will likely have interest in that said prospect. So bringing up the screen, of course, we first have to go over offensive tackles drafted by the Green Bay Packers since Brian Gutekunst became GM in 2018. Now, I'll be doing a separate video on interior offensive line early next week, and that'll be the last position we do on this series, and then I will release this document for you guys, which includes top 30 visits, a draft trade chart, as well as my Packers top 50 board, all in one document. So that'll be released right after the video, probably on Monday or Tuesday, one of those 2 days. So on the screen here, we see the 5 players that were drafted at tackle from Brian Gutekunst since 2018. We have Jordan Morgan this past season. I am going to consider him a tackle. I know he's only played guard for us, but the Packers drafted him with becoming a left tackle in mind. So I'm going to keep him at tackle, even though his arm length is a lot lower than the rest of these guys, which is probably why they consider, hey, he could play guard early on, but we still consider him a left tackle. And as you see the arm length, that is important for tackles. Usually when you have under 33-inch arms, you're likely kicked into guard at the NFL, which, could end up being Jordan Morgan's career. Like there could be a sequence where he just stays at guard and he's a good guard and he stays there. That could happen. But for now, I'm going to consider him a tackle. We have Travis Glover, who I just didn't really understand this pick at all. It didn't feel like a Packers pick. It didn't feel like a Packers prospect, and you could see why. And it also didn't look like a good pick when he got thrown into the mix in that playoff game against the Eagles. It's one of the worst tape I've seen on an offensive lineman in a long time since the days of Royce Newman. Zach Tom, we drafted. I'm considering him a tackle because that's where he's been playing for us, but we know this guy can play all over the offensive line. Rasheed Walker has only been a left tackle for us and a pretty darn good one, although the Packers might end up moving on from him after his rookie contract. And then we also have Cole Van Lanen. Man, I had high hopes for Cole Van Lanen, obviously former Badger. I like a lot of Wisconsin offensive linemen coming out of drafts because they just seem to churn them out year after year, and I thought Cole Van Lanen would be the next decent one. Wasn't the case, and that was the first lineman that Gutekunst actually drafted. So if you look at their thresholds here, we have RS, we have shuttle, 3-cone, arm length, and of course height and weight. So generally, the Packers like athletic, agile players at tackle or prospects at tackle generally. Now, Jordan Morgan didn't test shuttle and 3-cone, and Rasheed Walker didn't test anything, and that's probably why Rasheed Walker fell to the 7th round, but I would still believe Rasheed Walker would test pretty well shuttle and 3-cone, and as would Jordan Morgan. The only outlier here, which as we see every episode up to this point, there's always at least like one outlier, and that's going to happen, but generally the Packers like athletic tackles that are agile. And what I mean by agile is have a really good shuttle and 3-cone, or mainly 3-cone. The Packers love their 3-cone for their offensive tackles. And spoiler alert, there are some terrible, and I mean terrible 3-cones in this upcoming draft class. There's not many prospects that have a good 3-cone at tackle for this upcoming class, probably signaling that the Packers don't draft a tackle too highly in this class. I still think they'll get one. They've brought a lot in for top 30 visits. Then we also have arm length. A lot of the time, or most of the time, it's over 33 inches, over 33.25 inches for that matter. The only one that was outlier here was Jordan Morgan, 32.88 inches. The one thing Travis Glover had going for him was almost 35-inch arms, which is crazy. So overall, the Packers draft thresholds at offensive tackle. Generally, they like them between 6'4" and 6'6". We see Cole Van Lannon was the shortest here with Zach Tom at 6'4", and the tallest is Travis Glover at 6'6", but that has been the tallest. Usually they like them right around that average of 6'5". Not often do they draft those behemoth tackles, but they do bring those guys in as undrafted free agents like Caleb Jones. So they just haven't really drafted them too often, right? Travis Glover being the tallest at 6'6", but still only 317 pounds. So the weight I have between 300 and 320 pounds, 33-inch plus arms, around an 8.0 RAS or greater, less than a 4.7 shuttle, and less than a 7.4 3-cone. All right, so now over to the prospects. Just like every other video, we have a chart here with the top 40 offensive tackle prospects. We have name, school, height and weight, age, left or right tackle, because I think that is important. The Packers, I think, have brought in all left tackles in their top 30 visits. I thought they've brought in 5 tackles thus far. Obviously, this could change by the time this video comes out. They could bring in another, but I think they've all been left tackles, or all projected to be left tackles at the NFL level. Of course, we have RAS, arm length, shuttle, 3-cone, if they're a Packers threshold fit, projected round, and if they met with Green Bay. So first, let's get it started, and we'll start with the players or tackles that I don't see as Packers thresholds fits, and you can essentially remove them off your board. Now, again, as I say every video, even if it says no, that doesn't mean we can't hear their name called for Green Bay next week. It could happen. I'm just going by the statistics. I'm going by the data, which seems to be a trend, or usually is a trend when it comes to drafting for the Green Bay Packers. So the first no is Ariante Irsay. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That's actually a pretty fun name to say. From Minnesota, 6'6", 331 pounds. Just a much bigger tackle than the Packers generally draft. Not only height, I know they got Glover at 6'6", but 331 pounds. They've never drafted a tackle over 317 pounds, or Gutekunst has never drafted one. Plus, he's a right tackle. Not saying that that's going to really factor into my threshold, yes or no, because it's a threshold, not a need, right? The Packers, yeah, sure, maybe have more need at left tackle depth, but either tackle spot, they need depth. So that's really not going to factor into it, just more so showing you guys, hey, are they left tackle or are they a right tackle? He has great RAS. He has great arm length, but his shuttle is suffering and his 3-cone is pretty terrible. So I don't have him as a Packers fit. He's too heavy. He's not agile. Charles Grant from William and Mary fits the size thresholds, but it's not a great athlete. 5.76, has the arm length, same arm length as Travis Glover, but not a great shuttle. Even a worse 3-cone than Ursary here. So again, as I mentioned, there's a lot of bad 3-cones. As you can see here, there's only one that is sub 7.4 in this entire list. There's only one tackle that has what the Packers like in 3-cone, which is actually crazy. I haven't done this for tackle in years past, but I would be willing to bet there's way more prospects in previous years that have what the Packers like at 3-cone. The next no on the list is Anthony Belton from NC State, kind of similar to Ursary there. 6'6", 336 pounds. Now, he does play left tackle. He's an okay athlete, 7.73, has the arm length, has the shuttle, and the 3-cone isn't god-awful, but it's not really that close either. It's a 7.77, and again, the Packers like 7.4 or less, so I have him as a no. Next 3 no's here, we have Holland Pierce from Rutgers. He's someone I drafted in about 3 mocks ago. Very intriguing because, 6'8", 341. Same with Jalen Travis, 6'8", 339. But Holland Pierce does have 36-inch arms. I think that's the longest arms I've seen in this entire draft class, and in a while, to be honest. He didn't test shuttle. He didn't test 3-cone, but because of the height and weight, I list him as a no. Jalen Travis is a good athlete, 9.08, does have the arm length, but has one of the worst shuttles and the worst 3-cones in this entire class, an 8.08, so I have him as a no. Chase Lunt from UConn, he's someone I like. I like to mock to the Packers a lot, 6'7", 304, so right around that Packers height and weight, just an inch taller than they usually draft, but has the weight. It's fine there. He's a right tackle. He's an okay athlete, 6.45. Doesn't have 33-inch arms at least, and he didn't test shuttle or 3-cone, so I have him as a no. The next, we have a slew of no's here, I think 5 of them here. First, we have Brendan Crenshaw Dixon from Florida, 6'7", 316 pounds. He's some versatility, he can play both sides. One of the lowest, probably the lowest RSs on this list, 2.52. Has the arms, but I mean, the shuttle and 3-cone is abysmal, so he's a no. John Williams from Cincinnati, 6'4", 322, right around the Packers mark, left tackle, 7.6 RS. Has the arm length, the shuttle's okay, the 3-cone is not, so he's a no. Xavier Truss from Georgia, 6'7", 309. Close. Right tackle, not a great athlete, 5.58. Arm length is there. Shuttle and three cone are abysmal. He's a no. Trey Wettig from Indiana, 6'7", 313 pounds. He's a right tackle. Pretty decent athlete, 7.62. Good arm length. Shuttle and three cone are abysmal. He's a no. Miles Hinton from Michigan, 6'7", 323 pounds. So a little bigger than the Packers typically like. He can play both sides. Didn't test, but does have an arm length, obviously, at 34 inches. So that's good, but his shuttle was bad at 4.96, so I have him as a no. Then we have another slew of no threshold fits for the Green Bay Packers here, starting with Dalton Cooper from Oklahoma State. Size is close. He's an athlete. He has arm length. He has a good shuttle, but his three cone is just very bad. It's a half a second slower than the Packers typically like. So I was thinking about maybe here because good athlete. The Packers did meet with him. I'm tempted to put maybe here, but I still put no. We have Gerard Christian from Oregon State, 6'8", 315, so taller than they typically like. Not a good athlete, very long arms, very poor shuttle, pretty bad three cone as well. He's a no. Essa Pohl from Washington State, left tackle, height and weight close enough. Not that great of an athlete, 5.69. Good arm length, not great shuttle, and a terrible three cone. He's a no. Braden Keim from BYU, 6'8", 322. Right tackle, didn't test, 35-inch arms, so no shuttle, no three cone, and since he's out of that weight threshold, I just list him as a no. Marquez Cox from Kentucky, 6'5", 312, so right in that Packers weight and height threshold. He plays left tackle. He's not that great of an athlete, 5.94, does have the arm length, but again, the recurring theme here, shuttle and three cone are just really bad, so he's a no. Jared Penning from Northern Iowa. I'm assuming that's Trevor Penning's brother because he went to Northern Iowa as well. I didn't even know this guy was in this draft class until I started doing this chart. 6'5", 319. He's a left tackle, poor athlete, undersized arms, poor shuttle, terrible three cone. He's a no. Bryce Benhart from Nebraska. This is the craziest build I've ever seen. 6'9", 307, right? 32-inch arms. That's crazy. I mean, that guy's literally a T-Rex out there. That's crazy. I've never seen that build before. He's not on the Packers' radar. I'll just tell you that right now. And watch, saying this, he's going to be like their 7th round pick. Guarantee it. 3.95, 32-inch arms. I mean, awful. I mean, look at these. Look at that shuttle. 5.18, three cone 8.3. That is the lowest on both. Yep, that is the lowest on both. It's also the shortest arms on this entire list. And, height to weight is the weirdest ratio. And it's also one of the lowest RASs, second lowest. That's crazy. So now let's go over the maybe threshold fits out of all tackles here in this draft class. Kelvin Banks from Texas. He's an intriguing one. Now, I have him listed as a left tackle. I think he can play right. I think he's a tremendous run blocker. I think he can play either side. So probably should have listed him as both here, but fits height and weight. He's a good athlete, has arm length, has good shuttle, but doesn't have the three cone. It's a 7.81, so I have him as a maybe. The next maybe is Wyatt Millum from West Virginia. He's someone I like in this class, 6'6", 313, left tackle, good athlete. The arm length is slightly shorter, but so was Jordan Morgan's, but he's a good shuttle, and his three cone's decent. It's okay, so I have him as a maybe. Ozzie Trapillo from Boston College, obviously played under Jeff Hafley, 6'8", 316. He can play both sides, good athlete, good arm length, good shuttle, and an okay three cone. Not the best, but okay, so I have him as a maybe. The next maybe is Jalen Rivers from Miami, 6'6", 319, so fits that. Left tackle. He's an okay athlete, not the best, 6.61, but has the arm length, but didn't test shuttle and three cone. So I listed him as a maybe just because he has the arm length and he fits height and weight, even though the RAS isn't the best there. The next maybe is Logan Brown from Kansas. I know a lot of people draft him in mock drafts, myself included. 6'6", 311, right tackle, tremendous athlete, 9.5. Arm length is there, shuttle is there. Three cone isn't, but it's not terrible, so he's a maybe there. Then we have Jack Nelson from Wisconsin. He's someone I also really like. 6'7", 314, left tackle, has the arm length, but didn't test. So I put him as a maybe there, and that's the last maybe. And there's really only a handful of yeses, and some of them are questionable, such as Josh Simmons, who's coming off a torn ACL. So we don't have too many testing metrics. He did meet with Green Bay. I'm sure that's to clear up some medicals there. But 6'5", 317, a left tackle, 33-inch arms. I have yes, I guess. Josh Connerly Jr. from Oregon, 6'5", 311, left tackle. RAS is good. Arms are good, but didn't test shuttle and three cone. So I have him as a yes. Jonas Avianea from Arizona can play both sides. A little bit heavier than they typically like. Usually they only go up to like 317, 20 pounds, but he's a little heavier there, but great athlete, 9.19. Arm length is there, shuttle's there, didn't test 3-cone, but I have him as a yes. The next questionable yes, Cam Williams from Texas, 6'6", 317, plays right tackle. Didn't test, but does have good arm length. I have him as a yes. Question mark. Emory Jones from LSU, 6'5", 318. He's a right tackle. Same as Cam Williams, didn't test, but has good arm length, so I have him as a yes, question mark. Ajani Cornelius from Oregon, 6'5", 310. He's a right tackle, same thing, didn't test, arm length is good, so yes, question mark. The next and last pure yes at tackle is Branson Taylor out of Pittsburgh. This is a guy I feel like is definitely going to be on the Packers' radar for a later round pick. 6'6", 321. He's a left tackle, good athlete at 8.49. The arm length is very, very close to 33 inches, but the one thing he does have is a great shuttle and a great 3-cone. The only one on this entire list, so he's a yes. Finally, Jordan Williams from Georgia Tech. Height and weights there, 6'5", 318. Right tackle, didn't test, but does have 34-inch arms, so I have him as a yes, question mark. I didn't want to only use just the pure yeses because there's only 3 of them. And I feel like the Packers have a bigger board than that at tackle. So if they were close or if they didn't test but do have other good measurables, that's why I also listed them as yeses. And also the maybes I was a little bit more lenient on as well. So first, let's go over the 100% fits at left tackle. We have Josh Simmons, Josh Connerly, Jonas Avianea, and Branson Taylor. Now, we also show how many sacks they allowed, pass blocking grade, run block grade, and some notes, such as Josh Simmons with a torn ACL, only played in 6 games. Jonas Avianea played both left tackle and right tackle last year. And Branson Taylor, also coming off a knee injury, only played in 6 games. We see Josh Simmons allowed 0 sacks, but again, that's only in 6 games. Had a very good pass blocking grade. So did Connerly, Avianea. Branson Taylor with the lowest grades on this list with an okay pass blocking grade, but a pretty horrid run blocking grade. Avianea allowed the most sacks with 4 there. Maybe fits at left tackle. We have Kelvin Banks, Wyatt Millam, Ozzie Trapillo, Jalen Rivers, and Jack Nelson. We can see the lowest sacked allowed is Wyatt Millam, and he has the highest grades here, a 92.5 pass block grade, an 89.2 run block grade. Kelvin Banks, also a really nice pass block grade and run block grade. Trapillo, good pass block grade. Jack Nelson, good pass block grade. A little bit lower run block grades for Trapillo and Rivers, and an okay one for Jack Nelson there. Also some notes, Jalen Rivers only played in 8 games, and Ozzie Trapillo, although right tackle the last 2 seasons, did play left tackle in 2021. Then we have our 100% and maybe fits at right tackle, and it's a very, very short list. It's 2 guys that were on the list at left tackle because they can play both sides, and then Logan Brown. So it's Jonas Avianea, Ozzie Trapillo, and Logan Brown. And Logan Brown, only a 1-year starter, but did have a good run block grade, really good, 82.2, really good pass block grade too, 78, and didn't allow a single sack. That's why he's intriguing. He's a 24-year-old player. Yeah, he only played and started 1 season, but he is definitely intriguing, saying like the 5th round or something. Logan Brown is someone that I could see the Packers targeting in this draft. So finally, let's wrap this thing up. Packers yes/maybe threshold fits at left tackle that are great pass blockers, which entails an 80+ pass block grade and less than 2 sacks allowed. It's Josh Simmons. I have an asterisk because he only played in 6 games. Josh Connerly, Kelvin Banks, Wyatt Millam, Ozzie Trapillo, Jack Nelson. Then we have Packers yes/maybe fits at left tackle that are great run blockers, a 75+ run block grade. We have Kelvin Banks, Wyatt Millam, Jack Nelson. Then we have Packers threshold fits at right tackle that are great pass blockers, 80+ grade, less than 2 sacks allowed. It's Ozzie Trapillo. Packers threshold fits at right tackle that are great run blockers, a 75+ grade. It's Logan Brown. Finally, we have Packers yes/maybe threshold fits at tackle overall, left tackle, right tackle, that are great pass blockers and run blockers, meaning an 80+ pass block grade, a 75+ run block grade, and allowed less than 2 sacks. There's a list of 3. Kelvin Banks, who's going to go in the 1st round, probably before the Packers pick. Wyatt Millam, who's more of a 3rd to 4th round option. And then Jack Nelson, who's more of a 5th to 6th round option there. So, if the Packers are going to be targeting guys that are good run blockers, good pass blockers, fit their thresholds, Wyatt Millam and Jack Nelson are good options. So is Logan Brown. Ozzie Trapillo, more of a 3rd round guy. They could be looking at him. But some of the top guys, such as Simmons, Connerly, Banks, all going within the 1st round. And if not the 1st, the very, very early 2nd, which I don't see the Packers targeting a tackle that early. Again, they've met with a lot of tackles in their top 30 visits, a lot of left tackles. So I do think they'll add one in this draft, but I'm more so on the later end, like a Wyatt Millam, Logan Brown, Jack Nelson, even a Branson Taylor. And Branson Taylor didn't fit in any of these lists here because he had a poor pass block grade and a poor run block grade, but he is, again, the only tackle that has what the Packers like at 3 cone. So he's definitely an option in the later rounds as well. So that does it for the tackle threshold fits for the Green Bay Packers in the upcoming 2025 NFL draft. Again, I'll be doing interior offensive line next week. Hopefully this gave you guys a little bit of an idea of some of the tackles the Packers will or won't be looking at when it comes to the draft next week. I really appreciate you guys coming by. A reminder to go check out Exter, wallet I really love and been using for the last year and a half. Links down in the description, also pinned in the comments below. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.